So in this video today, we're going to talk about 3 poses. We're going to talk about lunge pose, warrior 2, and triangle pose. So a lot of times people will overstretch in yoga, and yes, some of our flexibility is extreme, but when we're in certain poses, we want to be mindful to bring our body into alignment so that A, we're not causing any damage to our body, and then B, we're really getting the benefits of the pose, really being able to ground our bodies and feel this flow of energy going through the body. So we're going to start with lunge, starting at the top of the mat. Left foot, right foot. Come a little bit further. Then you're going to step your right foot back. So in lunge, we are always on the toes. So toes press into the ground, the heel lifts. Arms reach up. And then our hips are squared forward in lunge. Shoulders release. And so a lot of times we have this concept that we need to overextend, and that lunge is an arch pose. Really the only time in yoga that you should be arching your back is if you're doing a back bend. Other than that, every pose there should not be an arch in the back. So in here you want to be mindful to pull the rib cage in. There you go. And so once you realize that your back heel should be lifted, sometimes you actually have more space in your lunge than what you think. So maybe slide that back foot back a little bit and really press the toes into the ground. This is where you can also check in with flexibility on your toes. Some people have a hard time with really creating this arch in the foot and really pressing the toes into the ground. Hands down to the hips, step forward. We'll do opposite side. And then keep in mind, everybody's body is a little different on each side of the body, so explore this pose. Where you go on one side of your body, you may not go on the other. And remember, yoga is really about meeting yourself each and every time you step on the mat. You may yoga on Monday and do the same flow on Tuesday, but your body is totally different on Tuesday. So it's not about reaching this ultimate level. It is just about introducing yourself to yourself every time you step onto the mat. Good, hands down, step forward. So now we're going to try warrior 2. So right foot will step back, heel will drop down. Yep. So in this pose, a lot of times, the best way, I'll show you the best way to go into this pose, because what your feet should look like is making a shape of a capital T. So when this foot steps forward, you want to still be able to keep that alignment. But the thing is, in yoga class, 9 times out of 10, you're not coming from here and stepping into the pose. So the easiest way is to go into it is when your hands are down here and you step back. A lot of times I take a glance back, heel toe this front foot to the center so that I see I'm in alignment, and then I'm windmilling the hands up. So we'll try that. Right foot steps back. Good. Hands windmill up. Gaze is always over that front middle finger. Shoulders are released. Left knee can bend a little more. There you go. So you want to keep that knee right over the ankle. And then you're thinking, this is warrior. A lot of people have a tendency to lean forward in their warrior, but warrior is right straight in the center. This is your power, your warrior pose. So your pressure in that back leg should be on the outside of the foot. The pressure in the front leg is in all 4 points of the foot. You can bend a little, there you go. Gaze over that middle finger. Good. And again, if you feel this arch being created in the back, pull the rib cage in, remove the arch. Hips are open in this pose, so a lot of times I tell people to imagine that this knee is constantly pointing back towards the pinky toe. A lot of people will cave the knee in. Windmill the hands back down. Pivot on the back toes, step it forward. We'll do the opposite side, just to see that, sometimes the body is different on each side. Windmill it up. Good. Good. So if you have a mirror, both arms will be at the same level, and if you're looking in the mirror, you would not be able to see this back arm. Some people also have a tendency to twist here, and so now you see you're taking your spine and your hips out of alignment. So this is a great pose to really do in front of a mirror so that you can see your alignment. Bring it back down. We'll go right back into that warrior 2, opposite side, because that's the easiest way to get into your triangle pose. Front leg comes straight. So now for me, and this may be different depending on if my body is really warmed up and I'm doing an advanced yoga class, or if maybe it's more intermediate style, I'm not as warmed up. Sometimes I like to heel toe this back foot in a little bit, because your warrior two is really power and open, but when you go into that triangle, sometimes it does help to close off the feet some. The best way, I'm going to show you two different ways. I like to go into triangle with reaching forward first. So I reach, this back hip shifts back, and then I take my body into triangle, and then you rotate, palms are forward. Again, here, when you're in triangle pose, you want to imagine that you are in between two walls. So all of this rib cage squeezes in. A lot of people have a tendency to reach the arm way, way back. You're taking your body off of balance. Inhale it back up. And remember, in your triangle pose, your triangle can be where the hand just comes down to the thigh. It could be where the hand comes down to the lower leg. You don't always have to have this power pose where you're using your core to keep yourself in the middle. Left toes point forward, right toes point to the back. Easy way to go into triangle pose, opposite side. And again, if you feel like you need to close your legs off, some close them off. One thing I see in a lot of students, some of us have, when the knee kicks back. So if you are someone that your knee can easily pop back, you always want to be thinking, I just need to create a slight bend in my knee throughout the entire yoga class. So this time we're not going to reach it forward. We're just going to turn the palms forward and go right into your triangle. So you lean down, take it as deep as you can. This is not my favorite way to go into it because I feel like it takes out some of the space, some of the flexibility that one may have. And again, pulling rib cage in, you want to imagine you're in between two walls. This arm is reaching up, palm facing forward, and you breathe here. Good. Inhale it back to the center. Good. Toes point forward and feet, heel toe to feet back together, arms relax. So those are three poses. They're common poses in yoga, but a lot of times, like I said, people overextend, overstretch. So it's a constant reminder, even when you're in your mountain pose. We'll take mountain pose. Top of the mat, feet are hip distance apart, arms relax down by your side, gaze is forward. So you are in mountain pose. This is your stance. This is how we really should be standing every day normally. Your heels, slightly turn them in. There you go. Toe, there you go. Tuck the tailbone, tilt the pelvis. Good. Shoulders come up and roll them back. Good. A lot of times we even stand with this arch in our bodies. So we have to be very mindful to tuck, tilt. When you tuck your pelvis and tuck your tailbone and tilt your pelvis, you're actually creating this length in the spine. So you're going to feel more spacious. And then you're grounding yourself, because now this lower half of your body, you can create this lock here. So as you're standing in your mountain pose, it's a power pose. You're standing here. This is oftentimes your first pose before you take your sun salutations. And this is, I have arrived, I'm here, I'm present, taking a few breaths here, setting your intention, and then going through your flow. So I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Try these poses, keep them in mind as you flow through your yoga class. And again, I know sometimes when you're in a flow, it's hard to remember all of these little things, but if you can take some time out in your day, let me just practice 3 poses, just hold them and breathe in them and see how they feel. And one last thing, anytime you need a yoga block, always grab it, always use it. It is a myth that yoga blocks are only for beginners. Yoga blocks can be used in many, many different ways, and they are so powerful throughout your yoga experience. So thank you for joining me. Namaste.